Serious, what was your I hope I never have to go through that again moment? I have a child who is nonverbal autistic. Because of this, she can't really answer questions. It makes anything to do with questions of health well-being very difficult. When she was 3, she started giving off a really bad smell. You couldn't smell it all the time, just little whiffs of it time to time. It was horrid. Like rotting meat. It was coming from her head, but it wasn't her breath. Finally, I could smell it coming from her nose when she was breathing. She wouldn't answer any questions about it, so I had no idea of the cause. We took her to the pediatrician, and the pediatrician sent her to a specialist. Before the specialist appointment, I figured out what it was. We had been potty training her and using many marshmallows as rewards. At some point, she's stuck one up her nose. So we get to the ear, nose and throat specialist, and we have to scope her nose with a little camera. There's no way to explain it to her that she'll understand, and she freaks out in the doctor's office. She was freakishly strong for her age, and it took 4 male nurses to hold her down so the doctor could get a camera up there and retrieve a rotting marshmallow. It wound up being traumatic for every person involved, including my daughter. Crippling depression. I once had it so bad I couldn't function and just had to sleep most of the time. I lost my appetite, my job, my apartment, my soul, went into debt, and I just cried every day whenever I was awake. It was hard existing. Life seemed hopeless and I felt like I had nothing to live for. It was really hard to change my mindset and get out of that dark hole. Luckily, I had therapy to give me the tools I needed to understand and cope with my depression/anxiety. It still comes back sometimes, but at least now I don't shut down like I used to. I might get sad and a bit depressed, but I can carry on regardless now. One of my friend offered me weed. To this day I don't know whether he laced it. But I was struggling for 3 days. I couldn't be normal. I threw up, and my body was aching too. It feels though as if somebody was sinking nails in my body. Well, the worst part is, I tried to maintain my composure and this friend was trying to touch me. I was confused. As I tried to distance myself from him, he offered me to go on a long drive to make me feel okay. I to this day am thankful that I refused when he had asked me so many times. I couldn't get away from him. So I don't know why, but I put 2 fingers down my throat to throw up on him because I couldn't think of any other way to get away. I hope nobody ever goes through anything like this. And now I've just stopped smoking, because I cannot go through anything like that anymore. I tore my right knee ACL from a ski accident 2 months ago. First injury of any kind for me, and the pain was unreal. I still remember the moment and the way I screamed due to pain. The recovery process has been slow and stressful, but the knee/leg is almost back to normal function sans ACL. Now unfortunately the reconstruction surgery originally scheduled for April has been cancelled due to coronavirus. I'm not sure when I'd feel comfortable to get it, but at this point it will have to be either late July or after November because of work, so I'm looking at mid/late 2021 for a full recovery. 3+ years of pain, constant late arrivals to college, and the constant stink eye I got from my tutors for it. Constant rushing back and forth between the toilet and the classroom, waking up at 3 a.m. for the toilet, doctors giving me the runabout, blood tests coming back clear/or slightly raised white blood cell count, only mild inflammation indicated by my stool samples, and so on. Then there was the time my iron levels dropped worryingly low, because I was just shitting everything out before I could properly digest it, and I had to have 2 iron infusions, then the lactase and gluten tests to see if I was intolerant to either of those. I'm not. Then there was a bunch of scans, CT, MRI, and ultrasound, and finally 2 colonoscopies and 1 endoscopy. They also wanted to take a lymph node biopsy from my neck, but my lymph nodes weren't raised that day. All of that to find out that I have Crohn's and need to take a 3-month course of budesonide to see if my bowels improve. It's not been a fun few years, and I certainly never want to experience it again. but things are looking good-ish, for now. Getting my toenails cut off again. TLDR, I cut my toenails wrong, which skin grew over them. They were cut off, but they grew back over the following year and I had to get my toenails removed. Now I have weird looking toenails. In 2015, when I was 14 or 15, I had cut the nails on my big toes on an angle as they were ingrown, which really annoyed me. During the next week, skin started growing where the nail should have grown back, and by a month's time, it started growing over half of my nail, on both toes. Because of this, I had to get the skin cut off in a wake procedure, whatever you call it. It felt horrible as I got tons of needles inserted into my big toes, and the slight feeling of the skin being cut after having anesthetics made me feel really nauseous. It was finally over, got the bandages uncovered a week later and went back to life as usual. The very next year they started to grow back again, so not only did I have to go through that whole process again, I got both my left big toenail removed and my right half removed. Thankfully I'll never have to go through this again, but now I have to live with weird looking toenails. When I injured my abs muscle severely, two of them, the packs of the SIXS packs, almost all broken. The pain was horrible, the muscles were tense, and due to lack of blood they were shaking and breaking for almost 2 hours. All the blood lost was pressing my ribs and I couldn't even breathe without dying of pain. There were peaks of pain in which though I was going to pass due to it, I was almost crying, and damn nurses didn't want to give me opioids. At one point I think I was completely mad because I said to my parents, who drove me to the hospital, that I'd prefer to pass down rather than suffer the pain. Couldn't lie down just because of it. When you lie down, your abs muscles kinda extend, and due to the rupture I just couldn't. I didn't sleep so much that night because job fatigue, and I was there, sit in a hospital stretched, fighting against the slumber, the pain, and breathing in with 0 opioids. I was in the shop and I took a bulk pack of toilet paper. Coronavirus pandemic had just been announced, because my family were running out. Anyway, while I was in the checkout area, this kid, and his absolute whale of a mother, stormed up to me. The kid asked politely for my pack of toilet paper. I hesitated. Then his mom screamed at me to give it to them. I said, well, I would have if you would have asked kindly, but no, I'm not giving it to you. The whole shop went silent and was listening. People were whistling and a couple were clapping. Then the woman pushed me and grabbed the toilet paper. A store employee came by and threatened to call the cops on her. She punched him round the face and he went unconscious. A couple of security personnel ran over and put her in cuffs. I walked away with 2 toilet paper packs that day. Never felt so satisfied before. Here goes nothing. When I was 15, I attempted suicide seriously for the first time. My parents found me hyperventilating on the floor, covered in my own blood. The hospital obviously told them I was the cause of my injuries and they refused to believe it. They kicked me out for a little after that. Forced me to go to a psyche ward, which did actually help me, and just didn't want me as a child. They treated me differently after that. They were harsher on me, and it hurt a shit ton. I'm not very close to my family to this day, and if I'm being honest, they were the reason it happened in the first place. Getting a filing and feeling the drill grinding at the tooth's nerve. Got 3 numbing shots in the gums where it was being drilled and it still didn't work. Entire right side of my face was numb for the next 4 to 5 hours and couldn't eat anything afterward. That was one bad day. On my 3rd day in the hospital after a seizure that made me lose control over my body for more than an hour, when doctors finally gave me meds, and for the first time in over half a year, I was finally seizure-free. Haven't had one since, almost 10 years now, but I'm still suffering from PTSD and can't sleep/be in a dark and quiet room and get panic attacks regularly, out of fear the seizures might come back.